So I just started my 20th year in youth ministry here at our church in Southern California, and what's been cool is I've been able to be at the same church all 20 years that I've been in youth ministry. So just wanted to share today with some ideas about longevity in youth ministry. And the first one is this, is learn to build a relationship with your senior pastor. That's something I've had to learn over the years but have gotten better at. And you know, what's one thing I think we hear a lot in youth ministry is guys that are butting heads with their senior pastor. But I think we put it all on them to build a relationship when in fact, you know, a relationship takes two. And as youth pastors, we've got to do all that we can to get to know them, get to know their leadership style, the things that you know they like the things that tick them off, and do what we can to make sure we're meeting their needs as their youth pastor and doing all we can to be one of their support teams. And one of the keys to that too, I think, is to make sure you're being your senior pastor's armor bearer, that you're watching his back, you're guarding his back, that when you hear stuff that's going on in the church, he's not the last one to know, but he's the first that you talk to about it, and make sure you've got his back in that. Because I think some senior pastors are battling things that they don't even know they're battling. It's because no one's had their back. No one has said to them, hey, here's what's going on. I wanted you to know before it became anything else, so we can deal with it head on, and then be there with him as he has to deal with it. So, you know, armor bearer is a big part of that relationship between a youth pastor and a senior pastor. The second thing is delegation. You have got to learn to delegate. If you want to survive in youth ministry for more than 10, 20 years, you've got to learn to pass things off to others. And that's not easy because so many of us, I think, like to just get things done in ourselves. You know, when we come up with an idea or something that we want to do for youth ministry, we have a certain way that we want it done. But the fact is, we've got to learn to delegate to those people that God has partnered with us, our youth leaders, our volunteer leaders. You know, it just does two things. It gives you, you know, it takes some of the weight off of your shoulders, but it also gives them ownership within the youth ministry, which I think is important. For them to have that, for them to want to be a part of it and to have buy-in, they've got to have ownership. So let them do some of the stuff that you're doing. You don't have to plan every game. You don't have to plan every event. You don't have to do every announcement. Let others take a role in the youth ministry. The third thing is always make sure you're building up someone to take your job. Now I don't mean literally to take your job as youth pastor, but one of the joys of youth ministry that I've had is I've seen some of our interns, some of our youth leaders go on to be youth pastors at other places, and they've had their start here only for the fact of I've tried to give them the spotlight. You know, so you know my pulpit is open to some of our student interns, you know, preaching and teaching and doing some of the series. I let them do a lot of the upfront stuff and plan events and plan camps. And you know, one of my goals is to make our interns, to make our youth leaders the stars, and to let them have the spotlight. And so I would encourage you to make sure you're building people up to literally get the call of youth ministry. One of the ways they're going to get that calling is by experiencing it and doing it, and you can give them that opportunity. The fourth thing is never stop dreaming. You know, dream as big as you can, dream as many ideas as you can. Some of them will work fantastically and some of them will fail. But one of the things that's kept me going for so long is I've never stopped trying to make my dreams happen when it comes to youth ministry. When God puts a vision on my heart for something in youth, I work twice as hard to make sure we pull it off, that we actually do it. It's not just a thought, but we actually put hands in and you know, make it happen. And so if you're dreaming big and you have the capability to make those dreams happen, trust me, you're going to last a long time in youth ministry. And the last thing is simply this: don't be afraid to get in the mud. And I got this one last week. I spoke at a junior high camp, and while I was there, one of the things they did was get into a huge mud pit and have this huge mud fight and tug of war and everything. And you know what? I decided I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to get in there and get muddy. And by the time I was done, I was covered head to toe in mud, and it was in my ears and everywhere. But what was cool was just the bond that I made with those students, the moment I had with those students. You know, they may not remember, you know, all the stuff that I talked about each night during the chapel, but they'll remember when I got in the mud and just had fun with them and built relationship with them. So don't be afraid to get muddy. Don't be afraid to get in there and be a student and have fun with them. And you know, we don't need to be put on this pedestal where they can't approach us, they can't have fun with us. We've got to make ourselves available to those kids. So those are just 5 quick ideas of longevity, and we'll be coming up with more stuff soon. Thanks a lot.